Hey Russell, this is Trent Richards with Redlist. I just thought I'd just make a brief video kind of summarizing some of the things that we talked about a month ago when we were on site at your facility there. I'm going to sign into Redlist using a demo account, um, and I'm just going to maybe bring up some of the things that we talked about and just again introduce real quickly our platform to see just as a brief reminder. So if you remember correctly, on the quick links, we did create a quick view for you, and there are some assets that we've loaded in here. Um, we loaded a few aerial views. So I've pulled up one of your aerial views. We're in a builder mode, which just shows the associated accounts. But if I click on the live button, you'll have these red pulsing buttons that indicate that there's some preventative maintenance that's either overdue or scheduled. So if I click on one of these, for instance, it'll bring up, in this case, a Hitachi shovel. And right now we only have 3 components that are on there. Normally there'd be 20 or 30 components on this that would require maintenance, but any one of these I could pull up and find that there's a hydraulic pump that needs to be maintained. So I can actually look at the work order and the current backlog and see exactly what's overdue. So for instance, had to check the filter. Um, and there's a filter pressure differential seems to be off, which is one of them is a scheduled required maintenance. This if it's got a little wrench icon, that's a preventative maintenance item that happens based on engine hours or some interval. Whereas this is a work order. If it's got a little guy that indicates that somebody created that as a work order. So anyway, these things are part of our software that um, just it's a quick view that you can actually use as a management team. Most of your employees though will just see the things that are related to them. So if I go, for instance, to the work order section, right now I'm logged in as Trent Richards and I don't have anything in my queue. But if I look at the backlog of items that need to be done, this is a demo account, so we have a lot of absurdly overdue items in here. But I could take these items, and you can see that I'm set up for an 8-hour workday, and basically drag those to me as a maintenance person, and you can see it starts to increment the time of to basically fill my day up with items that maintenance items that are overdue. So if I click on any one of these, we have in this tab the estimated duration time, which is 5 minutes. However, if there's an actual time to complete, let's say I do this task and it actually takes me 15 minutes to complete, I can log that, select done. Um, Again, it makes me confirm that. If I used any parts, it'll ask if any parts were used, and filter particular crushed needed to be replaced. So I check that, which basically adds my signature, and I can complete and sign that task. So now we're getting a record of what we have, what we think will the time will be elapsed, but the software's smart enough to start capturing that and find out really what a maintenance item takes in terms of time. So that's kind of our asset tracking. This current backlog, we have also what we call the ice box, and the ice box is anything that a work order that's submitted. This is like to be approved items. So we do give depending on the permissions, we give your users the ability to create work orders, but you don't necessarily want to okay every work order. Sometimes they're frivolous. This is where they go to be basically deemed as a true work order. If they are a true work order, you could drag it over to the icebox, which basically, or pardon me, from the icebox to the backlog. This makes it a true work order. If you know exactly who it's going to, in my case, I have Trent here, but you could select Bowman Mitchell, um, and you can actually drag it directly to Bowman's queue or drag it to the backlog to be assigned out. But again, the icebox is essentially everything that has come in as a work order, and you as a manager may want to actually approve those. It seems like we get a awful lot of orders for mud tires during hunting season, which which is not necessarily something that you may want to approve. But anyway, let me know if you have any questions, and I really look forward to working with you. We have, again, it's a great software from the inspections perspective. Our forms tool is really next one of the best tools that we have. Like for instance, these are just a few inspections that we've created. Um, and so you could actually look at this gear thermography inspection. You can specify the date, the inspector's name, and you can make these pick lists if you know people are loaded as assets within this tool. Um, Again, this is where you kind of build your universe. So you load your assets and your asset groups. So an asset might be a specific haul truck. An asset group might be a fleet of haul trucks. Asset sections is if it's a fixed asset and has conveyorized sections, for instance, that would be a section. The components of that would be like a haul truck would have a hydraulic subsystem or an engine, a power subsystem, which is an engine, and differential, things like that. You load your people and your users into this. Your users are anybody that has access to our platform. Your people could be people that don't have access to the platform, but maybe you need to send outbound messages to. So even a vendor could be loaded in here. So if there's a read order point for lubricants or oil, you could set it up such that it can order those. Now we don't want to necessarily replace your ERP system. If you have an ERP system and you're happy with it, we don't need to replace that. Many people just use us for the forms only. And again, this is where anything you're doing right now that is done um, on paper um, can be converted to a digital format, and we capture all that data. So once I go to the forms, there's the submit area, which is the one of the ones we created. If I go to view entries and I want to look at the past 365 days for the gear thermography, you can see that there's been um, they've been submitted, and I've loaded some of these. It's probably me back when we were doing this demo, loaded some of this data, but it does capture that, so you could actually print it off if you wanted to print this off in a PDF form. Um, anyway, this will actually give you like a nice print off for that particular form, but we do all capture that digitally so you can use it for later reference. Um, the forms tool really is powerful. If I go to kind of show you how this tool works, let me go to create, and I'm going to go to this gear thermography, and I think these are data that you gave us, or at least something that you actually um, um, have created for us. So are some of these you've actually created or given us at least the questions to put in here. But any of these questions can be editable. So for instance, the input is a date range, and we specify what kind of text it is. Once we select what kind of text it is, it asks, well, what kind of what time do you want to input type? Right now we have it as general text, but we can force it to be a date text, and that'll bring up a calendar function. Um, which I don't know why we didn't do that to begin with. Um, so let me actually close that. The inspector's name, again, uh, right now we didn't have people loaded in here, but you could actually bring that and associate that with, we don't have anything loaded in here, but you can associate that with a drop down for people that are in your system. So that's a pretty powerful tool, but some of these logic tools are really what's interesting to us. So for instance, question 5, um, if, well, let me do a pass-fail one. I don't know if we have anything that's pass-fail, but let's just say that I add a question here, and I say temps all within specified um, range. So I'm going to create a label, and I'm going to make this a selection button, and I'm going to say yes, or no. And we'll make yes green and no red. Once I select that, I can have a follow-on question, um, or I could actually, let's do this. Let's create a work order. So if I come here and I say, this is a logic button, so I'm going to say when um, question 12, which is the one that I just added here. I think it's question 12. Maybe it's question 11. So from the work order button, we can say always or when or never, but let's just do when question 12, which is the one we just created, um, is no. Then what we want to do is create a new work order and require work order description. And then we say, please, please check temperature, let's say like hydraulic cooling system. I don't know. I don't know what these temperatures are, but I'm just kind of spitballing here. And you could say if this is really critical, leave it at 0, which is due today. If it's something that can be done in the next, I don't know, 7 to 10 days, you can put that out. You can even specify the person who's directly responsible. So let's say I don't know who's even in here, loaded in here, but let's just say it's me, just because I know that I'm in here. I need the second one of me. And then you could specify a lead. So let's just say that it's I don't know, Bowman is the manager, and you can specify this as a normal priority, red list, or alert or caution. So we'll just put it in normal priority and put done. So this is a really powerful tool where you can add logic. You could say, well, you could even do a notification. So when question 12, question 12 is no, then I need to alert, tell Redlist user X, right? And then select the employee roles to send notification to. If you want to just send it to a lubricator or a manager or a mechanic, you can specify just roles that it needs to be sent to instead of individual user. Let's just say that we need to send it to a lubricator. Anybody that has a job title that's specified as a lubricator will get that. We can send an email and send a text. So and I'm just going to say alert in the subject line. So that's all these logic buttons are really powerful in in if you want to require it, you can specify it needs to be required, but lots of interesting things here. If you want something that needs to be signature signed, you can actually add that. But things that I think that would benefit the mine for sure. Again, this is within our forms tool. Let me save this, and I can basically show you how that works now. So if I go back to forms and I go to submit and I go to this thermography inspection tool, there should be our temps all within specified range, no. And then now when I click no, um, it actually specifies, that brings up this check hydraulic cooling system, and you can even add further notes there. So anyway, that's kind of how our forms tool works. It's a great complement to even tools that you already have from an ERP perspective, and we can digitally capture all that inspection or pre-op or post-op type work that you do, and make sure that's all in the system for safekeeping. But it does have a lot of capabilities in terms of informing where you can be used, where informing like work orders or maintenance items as well. Thanks for listening in. Sorry for the lengthy video. It's about 15 minutes, but hopefully this gives you a good idea of Redlist and our capabilities. Thanks. Bye.